much for coming out this afternoon to the Central Library to hear what promises to be an amazing afternoon of Latin American poetry. First off, I'd like to thank Ana Campos and the International Languages Department, without which this wouldn't be possible, for their help in supporting this program and providing this beautiful space and fortuitous opportunity. Second, I would like to thank HINCHAS Press for giving me the cara durez. Those of you who know Spanish, it means like stone-facedness or shamelessness, and courage to believe I could actually bring together all of these amazing writers. And there's quite a few here. I was very fortunate to begin my library career at the Vernon Branch, and Ana Campos is my old boss. And so I was in very good hands from the get-go, and I'm very fortunate to have been trained by Ana and some of the amazing librarians in LAPL. So this program is a continuation of that esteem and that luck, really. I believe what we set out to do in a very small personal way was to take back Columbus Day, which was on the 11th, right? And start celebrating Los Indígenas instead of that Italian dude with Spanish backing. 5 days ago, in an article titled "Support Grows for Indigenous Peoples Day Amid Columbus Day Criticism," USA Today reported that in Phoenix and in Denver, they're already celebrating their first Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day. I believe this is a watershed moment, and I look forward to more progress taking back the meaning of that day. Latin American poetry is vivacious, political, and subversive, which is very different than some of the times what we see with U.S. poetry. Not that U.S. poetry is not these things, okay? Specifically now that in the times that we live in, right? But there are real obstacles to using poetry to speak about politics and still having people read it. So it seems like to me that in Latin America, the personal is always political. And that in the US, the political always for some reason seems to be just personal. For me, nowhere is this more evident than in the different animals of poetry both continents produce. Latin American poetry is not only more inherently political, I believe, and subversive, the people of Latin America regard it as a cultural wealth. And many illiterate people in Latin America know at least one poem by heart, even if they can't read or write. One might even venture to say that Latin American poetry se siente en la piel, and US poetry is mostly felt on paper. The task I handed these 10 poets was not an easy one. They had to choose a Latin American poet and write a poem that emulated or was similar in style to the poem that inspired them. This is a large feat because of the myriad countries, voices, and styles present. However, I did want to engage or remind ourselves that the physical act of reading is an active one. Reading is an active art that prepares the mind to craft expositions or narratives. I titled it Latin American Transponder because I was intrigued by how transponders and radio frequency technology actually works. Transponder's task is simple. It emits a response once it receives a signal. In this way, I envisioned our readers receiving a signal from a Latin American poet and returning that signal in kind, giving a response. At most of the readings I organize, I thank the audience for making time to have literature resonate in their lives, and for coming out and showing support. The writers up here are not only contemporaries of mine, but they do such amazing, important work in Los Angeles. And much of it goes unnoticed, because they may not be flashy, or aligned with a studio or entertainment company. But believe you me, all the readers were solicited for their contributions to the city of Angels, Los Angeles, my adopted city, a city built by immigrants, many of whom originate from countries in Latin America. Un zumbido de moscas anestesia la aldea. El sol unta con fósforo el frente de las casas. Y en el cauce reseco de las calles que sueñan, deambula un blanco espectro vestido de caballo. Penden de los balcones racimos de glicinas que agravan el aliento sepulcral de los patios. Al insinuar la duda de que acaso estén muertos los hombres y los niños que duermen en el suelo. La bondad somnolienta que trasuden las cosas se expresa en las pupilas de un burro que trabaja y en las ubres de madre de las cabras que pasan, con un son de cencerros que al diluirse en la tarde no se sabe si aún suena o ya es solo un recuerdo. Es tan real el paisaje que parece fingido. And he wrote this in Andalusia in 1923. I've never been to Andalusia, but I imagine it's just as beautiful as he says it is. This one's called Pedestre. En el fondo de la calle, un edificio público aspira el mal olor de la ciudad. Las sombras se quiebran al espinazo en los umbrales, se acuestan para fornicar en la vereda. Con un brazo prendiendo a la pared, un farol apagado tiene la visión convexa de la gente que pasa en automóvil. Las miradas de los transeúntes ensucian las calles que se exhiben en los escaparates, adelgazan las piernas que cuelgan bajo las capotas de las victorias. Junto al cordón de la vereda, un quisco acaba de transeger una mujer. Pasa, una inglesa idéntica a un farol, un tranvía que es un colegio sobre ruedas, un perro fracasado con ojos de prostituta que nos da vergüenza mirarlo y dejarlo pasar. De repente, el vigilante de la esquina detiene de un golpe de batuta todos los estremecimientos de la ciudad para que se oiga en un solo susurro, el susurro de todos los senos al rozarse. So I was very fortunate. My parents would let me go to Argentina. That's where they're from. So I've traveled there quite a bit. There's a kind of ritzy neighborhood there called Flores. This one's called Ex Voto. Las chicas de Flores tienen los ojos dulces como las almendras azucaradas de la confitería del molino y usan moños de seda que les liban las nalgas en un aleteo de mariposa. Las chicas de Flores se pasean tomadas de los brazos para transmitirse sus estremecimientos y si alguno las mira en las pupilas, aprietan las piernas de miedo que el sexo se les caiga en la vereda. Al atardecer, todas ellas cuelgan sus pechos sin madurar del ramaje de hierro de los balcones, para que sus vestidos se empurpuren al sentirlas desnudas. Y de noche, a remolque de sus mamas, empavadas como fragatas, van a pasearse por la plaza, para que los hombres les digan palabras al oído, y sus pezones fosforescentes se enciendan y se apaguen como luciérnagas. Las chicas de Flores viven en la angustia de que las nalgas se les pudran, como manzanas que se han dejado pasar. Y el deseo de los hombres las sofoca tanto que a veces quisieran desembararse de él como de un corce, ya que no tienen él. I really like the word elan, which is, I believe it's French, and I was thinking, what a nice name for a dog. And then that kind of got my kind of brain going. So this is I Walk Elan. Saturday morning, operating on Gargantuan Boulevard, I walk a Christmas dog I like to call Elan. Elan feels like an overeager Midas associate. Elan feels that I'm trying to pull one over on him grossly damn loud. He is that unassembled by the elements. However, this happens to be a particularly crisp sojourn into the solstice through cobalt and Pacific heather. And I am not the homestead of startling properties that I once was when the boulevard was therapy for the solvent. Nowadays, I'm at a branch of the library where torque is a sonata, a pianissimo played by the collusion of automobiles, exhausting. Elan is driving to work in a totaled crimson Volvo. It's the type of automobile that exhibits regenerative protocols. Elan is driving to his job designing Ferris wheels. They're working on one for the wheel's sesquicentennial. They're going to Christian it, derelict spectre.